Hey, good morning, boys. Love you guys. This morning I'm going to read out of Leviticus chapter 26. You shall make for yourselves no idols, nor shall you erect a graven image, pillar, or obelisk, nor shall you place any figured stone in your land to which or on which to bow down, for I am the Lord your God. You shall keep my Sabbaths and reverence my sanctuary. I am the Lord. If you walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, I will give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her increase, and the trees of the field yield their fruit. And your threshing time shall reach to the vintage, and the vintage time shall reach to the sowing time. And ye shall eat of the bread to full and dwell in your land securely. I will give peace in your land. You shall lie down, and none shall fill you with dread or make you afraid. And I will clear ferocious wild beasts out of the land, and no sword shall go through your land. And ye shall chase your enemies, and they shall fall before you by the sword. 5 of you shall chase 100, and 100 of you shall put 10,000 to flight. Your enemies shall fall before you by the sword. For I am leaning toward you with favor, regard for you, rendering you fruitful, multiplying you, and establishing and ratifying my covenant with you. So covenant's an agreement. God's saying, you're good, and obey me, I'm going to do all these things for you. It's a deal. And ye shall eat abundant old store of produce long kept, and clear out all the old to make room for the new. I will set my dwelling in and among you, and my soul shall not despise or reject or separate itself from you. And I will walk in and with and among you, and be your God, and ye shall be my people. I am the Lord your God, who brought you forth out of the land of Egypt, and forth out of the land of Egypt, which I just read. That you shall no more be slaves, and I have broken the bars of your yoke, and made you walk erect as free men. But if you will not hearken to me, and will not do all these commandments, and if you spurn and despise my statutes, and if your soul despises and rejects my ordinances, so that you will not do all my commandments, but will break my covenant, I will do this. I will appoint over you sudden terror, trembling, trouble, even consumption and fever, and consume and waste the eyes, and make the physical life pine away. You shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies shall eat it. I, the Lord, will set my face against you, and you shall be defeated, and slain before your enemies. They who hate you shall rule over you. You shall flee, when no one pursues you. And if in spite of all of this you still will not listen and be obedient to me, then I will chastise and discipline you 7 times more for your sins. So see, God does punish us. And I will break and humble your pride in the power, and I will make your heavens as iron, yielding no answer, no blessing, no rain, and your earth as sterile as brass. So see, if you sin against God, He does punish you. And your strength shall be spent in vain, and your land shall not yield its increase, neither shall the trees of the land yield their fruit. If you walk contrary to me, and will not heed me, I will bring 7 times more plagues upon you, according to your sins. I will loose the wild beasts of the field among you, which shall rob you, your children destroy your livestock, and make you so that your roads shall be deserted and desolate. If by these means you are not turned to me, but determined to walk contrary to me, I will walk contrary to you, and I will smite you 7 times for your sins. And I will bring a sword upon you, that shall execute vengeance for the breaking of my covenant. So see, there's rules and consequences. And you shall be gathered together within your cities, and I will send pestilence among you, and you shall be delivered into the hands of the enemy. When I break your staff or bread, and cut off your supply of food, 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven, and they shall ration your bread and deliver it again by weight, and ye shall eat and not be satisfied. And if in spite of all this you will not listen and give me heed to me, but walk contrary to me, then I will walk contrary to you in wrath, and I will also chastise you 7 times for your sins. You shall eat the flesh of your sons and of your daughters, and I will destroy your high places devoted to idolatrous worship, and cut down your sun images, and throw your dead bodies upon the wrecked bodies of your idols. My soul shall abhor you with deep and unutterable loathing. I will lay your cities waste, bring your sanctuaries to desolation, and I will not smell the fragrance of your sweet and soothing odors made by fire. And I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies who dwell in it shall be astonished at it. I will scatter you among the nations, and draw you out of your enemies' sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities a waste. Then the land of Israel have the opportunity to enjoy its Sabbaths as long as it lies desolate, and you are in the enemy's land. Then the land shall rest, enjoy, and receive payments for its Sabbath divinely ordained for it. So this is interesting. You see, really the Sabbath is for the earth. It's not for us so much. It's for the earth. Because you see here it says that God will let the earth finally rest on its Sabbath, because these people didn't rest on the Sabbath. So it's interesting. I love you guys. For as long as it lies desolate and waste, it shall have rest, and rest did not have in your Sabbaths when you dwelt upon it. As for those who are left with you, I will send dejection, lack of courage, faintness into their hearts. In the lands of their enemies the sound of the driven leaf shall be put them to hasty and tumultuous flight, and they shall flee as if it were the sword, and fall when no one pursues them. They shall stumble over one another as if to escape the sword when no one pursues them. And if you have no power to stand before your enemies, you shall perish among the nations, and the land of your enemies shall eat you up. And those of you who are left shall pine away in their iniquity in your enemies' lands. Also in the iniquities of their fathers shall they pine away like them. But if they confess their own and their father's iniquity and their treachery which they committed against me, and also that they walked contrary to me, I also walked contrary to them, and brought them into the land of their enemies, and in the uncircumcised hearts, and humbled, and they then accept the punishment for their iniquity. Then will I earnestly remember my covenant with Jacob, my covenant with Isaac, and my covenant with Abraham, and earnestly remember the land. And the land shall be left behind them, and they shall enjoy its Sabbaths while it lies desolate without them, and they shall accept the punishment for their sins, and make amends because they are despised and rejected my ordinances, and their soul scorned and rejected my statutes. And yet for all of that, when they are in the land of their enemies, I will not spurn or cast them away, neither shall I despise or abhor them, to destroy them utterly, and to break my covenant with them. For I am the Lord their God. But I will for their sake earnestly remember the covenant with their forefathers, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt in the sight of the nations, that I might be their God. I am the Lord. These are the statutes, ordinances, and the laws on which the Lord made between him and the Israelites on the Mount Sinai through Moses. Well, so see how important the Sabbath is? So we better keep that, right? I love you guys.